Hi, so this is a look at all the other industries that there were in ancient Egypt. And the top one is papyrus reeds, so different products that they made out of papyrus reeds. Boats for fishing on the River Nile, there's lots of pictures of skiffs, baskets for putting their produce in, bowls, and of course papyrus paper for writing on. If you look at the scribes, the copyists scribes, they always have papyrus reeds in their ear. So what they did was they took a papyrus reed and they spliced it down and used the pith and then twisted it together to make a kind of a pen, and then they would use that to write on the paper. Obviously the pigments came from mixing oil with black soot, gave you the colour black, and they used the blood of a beetle to get the colour red. White was gypsum plaster, and then the yellow ochre, and then of course you had the green and blue fritz for those colours. So that's where they got their sort of colours from. Flax, they grew flax to make a yarn, and the linen was woven in an upright loom, which was more efficient than the flatter looms. From trees, most of their wood was imported for making furniture, coffins and doors, but that's only for the elites. The everyday people would just sit on the floor. They'd be very lucky if they had a wooden table on the floor to eat their food off of. They did have ceramics, which were produced by potters, and the potters used the coil method to make ceramics. So once they collected the clay, strained it out, all the stones, then they rolled them in their hands into a bit like sausages, like we used to do with plasticine, and then they build the pot or the item in a coil fashion, smooth off the outside, and then it would go off to the kiln. There were brick makers who made bricks out of the chaff left over from the harvest, mixed with the black Nile mud, put into a mould and left to dry in the hot sun. So all of their housing and palaces were made out of mud brick, and then they would render over the mud bricks with mud and then paint it with gypsum white paint. Stone was eternal for forever and ever. So you built your tombs and your pyramids and temples out of stone. That's my cat, Persephone. They grew vines to harvest grapes for wine, of course, only for the elites. And those lotus flowers, it's believed that they contained a drug very similar to LSD, and the elites would put the lotus flowers in wine and let the drug diffuse into the wine. Bang, there you go. Now you can talk to the gods. You're one with the gods. Egyptians believed the more you got drunk, the closer you'd be to the gods, which is why they had no problems giving beer to their children. Beer was made out of bread from the wheat, put into a pot of water with barley, and the yeast from the bread mixed with the sugars in the barley, which was heated up, and it produced the fermentation process for beer making. And there seems to be brewers and bakers very in close proximity. So that industry seemed to belong together. Beekeepers produced honey, and the byproducts were the wax cones. Now, if you look at the pictures of the ladies, they have these wax cones on their heads. And early Egyptologists believed that the wax cones would melt over the person. But Dr. Joanne Fletcher, who looked at women's adornment in ancient Egypt, thought, no, they're not going to be dolled up like that and have this wax melting over there. So she thought that it was a stylistic way of showing wealth in ancient Egyptian art. She thinks that the wax cones were used like a bit like a deodorant, and you rubbed it on your skin all over your body to freshen up and to keep away BO. So that's an interesting concept, and she's a very clever person, Dr. Joanne Fletcher. Butchers, butchers had their own industry for slaughtering cattle. Of course, cattle, pigs, sheep, goats. Probably goats could be done more on the local level by the owners and the sheep. And the kill seems to be going straight for the heart. Ducks and geese, wring their necks, there you go, done. There have been studies done on the butchery, and the cuts that are made, that are left on the bones, have suggested that the animals were chopped up into different parcels, and then those parcels were gifted out by the owner, whether it was the king or the nomarch or the temple, to the beneficiaries. Jewellery. Made lots of jewellery just for the rich, but amulets were for everyone else. So everyone would have an amulet, their favourite amulet of related to a deity in ancient Egypt, and it would be on a piece of sinew from an animal's stomach, or maybe some fibres which they made out of the pith of papyrus reeds. There was another industry, of course, which was the funeral industry, making ushabtis and models of ushabtis as brewers, etc. And of course, lots of furniture, which the nobility and rich Egyptians wanted in their tombs. So that was a whole industry there. So it's not just growing wheat and barley, it's not just fishing, it's not just tending cattle and smaller animals. There's all of these other industries going on at the same time. Okay, so in all, we're looking at 70% in agriculture, and the other 20% are in these industries which I've mentioned, and then you've got the 10% which are the elites. In archaeology, we've seen the same model in every civilization. There are two social groups. You have the elites and you have the masses. The elites offer security and organisation, and the masses cooperate with the elites for those benefits. And if you think about it, it's the same in our society today. The elites are the government, and everyone involved in government, and the rest of us are just the masses. Okay, so have a great day, be safe, and I'll see you real soon. Bye for now.